Welcome back to WCW 2000. This is the 24th of April with Monday Nitro on Total Extreme Wrestling 9. My name's Anders. This is Spike Piledriver Wrestling. And tonight, well, we're still on the road to Slamboree. We're going to try and figure out who will be facing Sting for the WCW title at that pay-per-view in just a couple of weeks. But before we do, we have to go and visit our random booker generator idea list and see how we are going to change the show on the fly. So, let's just go for it. And that's not changed anything whatsoever. Let's try again. That's still not changed anything. How come I can't actually... There we go. The turn that never happened. Oh, we've been doing that. No, we've already been doing that one. We've been turning Kevin Nash for weeks and never actually done it. Stop. No, dear. Oh. Let's try that one. Let's run an injury angle to force a change to the main event, but ignore the injury again by the next show. Good. Let's do that. I don't want to do a reset of everything right now. Thank you. Right. Let's see what we can change. We can change things up and let's injure DDP. Sting has so DDP tells Mean Gene that he's got Sting's back here, and then we'll add a new part where we will have that one backstage angle. Yes. Sid Vicious arrives unannounced and attacks DDP from behind. He sends him crashing through a window. And emergency staff rush in, and Sid is pulled away. There we go. Let's for part 2. We'll go Sid attacking, and then DDP, not Daphne. No, that's D. Malenko. Diamond Page is the victim. And then, okay, fine. We'll book that there. How's that gone in there? So Sting, that one. Yep. And then before we get into the main event, we'll add another angle. DDP off to hospital. So we'll go 3 minutes backstage live. Yep. Okay. Emergency staff put DDP onto a stretcher and cart him off to the hospital. If I could spell, in the back of an ambulance. Tonight's main event must change. Excellent. So there's DDP again. Diamond selling an injury this time. Yep, that's 3 minutes there. We'll do that. Add that in here. And then in the end of show brawl, we can't have DDP losing. So we'll do leaving Sting and the Outsiders fighting in the ring. Paul gets a... Yep, there we go. With Nash looking on. Excellent. Right, we'll get rid of DDP from this angle. It's all very easy to change things on the fly. I don't know what people moan about it for. And then obviously we need to make sure this match doesn't happen as well. So let's change everything here. We need it to be a handicap match. We're 3-on-2 handicap, 2 versus 3. There we go. It's taken the wrong person out, but we'll still try it that way. So we want to go Sting, Lex Luger, Booker, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. There we go. Sting. Oh. Why is it? What? Oh, we've done Cage of Death, of course. Yeah, I should probably check that. Right, let's try that again. We're not putting a random Cage of Death match on here. Sting, Luger, Booker, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash. Right, are you happy with that, Sting? Thanks for the warning, though, because we would have gone with a Cage of Death. We're not in CZW, so there we go. Right, that one is that match. Booker can still beat Luger. Fine. Go with that, and then we need to rename the match as well. Rename Sting and Lex Luger. Right. Okay. I think we've changed everything we need to change. Let's go through and run WCW Nitro. Here we go then, and we start the show in front of just under 3,000 people. Again, we're in the southeast. With Ric Flair. He took the actions of Shane Douglas and the Revolution last week as a declaration of war. And he doesn't care if it's 5-on-1 or that he's 51 years of age. The Nature Boy will work his way through the Revolution one by one and then kick the franchise's ass all over again. And he doesn't care if they get their own shots in along the way because he's fought bigger and badder men than they are in the past. And we've done this essentially because Ric Flair is apparently a goldmine for good ratings. An 84 for his promo to start the show. I figured that's the best way to get the ratings and the crowd rating up. Just give us a chance. Give us half a chance of having a decent show if we start out with a promo at 84. Ric Flair should be our world champion. I've said it there. And when we work towards getting him that championship, I say when we work towards it, we'll probably just do it randomly. Because WCW. Next up, we have our first contest, and this one is actually very, very good. And in a Cruiserweight Championship match, Billy Kidman is defeated by El Alemania because Ric Flair interfered, distracted Kidman, tripped him, and then a German suplex from the German luchador gets him the Cruiserweight Championship, and it gets a 64. That is a cracking good match. Now, that is how you start a show. New Cruiserweight champion, thanks to the Nature Boy. It's the definitely not Alex Wright in a German mask, luchador El Alemania, who wins the Cruiserweight title. Inauspicious start to his stint in WCW last week. Now he's the Cruiserweight champion. And Ric Flair rushes from ringside the ringside area, shouting about how he's got one over on the Revolution tonight already, and the Cruiserweight title is no longer part of the group. He'll do the same with Perry Saturn later tonight, as obviously he beat Dean Malenko last week, and maybe he'll then find a way to cost them the tag team titles as well, and then he does a big woo as he runs backstage. Gets to 72, so we started out with 2 Ric Flair promos in the space of the first, 15 minutes, and a good match as well. Everything nice. Crowd very hot. We've got this under control. Back down to earth with Eric Bischoff, who announces a 6-man main event with Booker T taking on, and the Outsiders taking on Sting, DDP, and Lex Luger. He also announces that at Slamboree, Sting will defend his WCW title against either Scott Hall or Kevin Nash in the main event. Now, I can't really remember what we said last week about the WCW title, but that's kind of fitting for what we're doing with this save. 34, Bischoff, you stink. Next up, Mike Awesome is warming up backstage when a steel chair comes flying into shot and smacks him on the arm. Sabu then follows it and flies onto Awesome, and the pair start brawling their way towards the ring, and the hardcore title is on the line. It gets a 46, and we go straight into our hardcore title match, but it gets a 51 as Mike Awesome defeats Sabu to retain his hardcore title that he was handed last week in a pretty middle-of-the-road, decent match, 6.5 minutes. Awesome Bomb gets the job done. Hardcore match to kick the show into We're still hot. The crowd's still hot. We've not lost them yet, so this is good. We're going steadily along now. Again, I could have had Ric Flair interfere here as well, but I figured losing too many titles off the Revolution so quickly would blow through all of the ideas we've potentially got. And it's one of the ideas in the random booking generator now as well to do that. So maybe that's where I got the idea from. Next up, we return to David Flair's therapy session. This week, David is wearing battered old NWO merch with holes in it and declares that he's detoxing from the WCW and embracing his Wolfpack side. He paces the room, potentially howling, whilst Daphne reveals a sock puppet named the Little Nature Boy. And it's not Charles Robinson. From this point on, the puppet does all the talking and claims that the new therapist is on Sting's payroll and is part of the conspiracy. David then crawls under the desk and mutters to himself that the ring ropes are calling him back. He's lost the plot, essentially. This gets a 27, which is terrible for the amount of creative input I put into it. I think it's improvement from the 24 last week. Not sure. But there we go. A 27 will do. That's okay. I mean, the crowd's now simmering down. And to follow that up, Booker T is with Mean Gene, and he wants one thing. And that's a match with Lex Luger at Slamboree. He won't take no for an answer, and in tonight's main event, it's his mission to prove he belongs in the main event scene by any means necessary. So, forewarning there. At 41, I'm expecting better from Booker, honestly, but still, okay. I think he pulls better ratings than that in the local to global save. But never mind. Right, speaking of bad ratings, Here's Shane Helms and Norman Smiley. A 28 for this match as Shane Helms gets the victory, as we're now continuing his little push up the card and see if we can get him more over, but not with matches like that, apparently. Never mind. Okay, we'll move on, see how terrible Lash does later on. We then see Billy Kidman hunting around backstage trying to find El Alamonia and his Cruiserweight title. He spots him sneaking through a locker room towards the parking lot and gives chase. But the German luchador is too quick because he's a luchador, of course. He can just spring over anything for the former champion and reaches a car and drives off. Apparently, Tori and Kidman have got good chemistry, and Alex Wright has got a gimmick that is rated nicely on, or suited rather, for comic relief, but still only gets a 29. Okay. Lex Luger then catches up with Mean Gene. He heard Booker's challenge a few minutes ago and is more than happy to accept. The total package has had a whirlwind couple of months. Yeah, telling me. But he is not a stepping stone for people wanting to get to the top. Booker just doesn't have what it takes to beat him fair and square. Again, 46. Expecting a little bit better, but, you know. Lash LaRue pips the rating that Helms got slightly with a 29. He had a decent reaction, but he got the victory over Brian Clark with Whiplash 2000 once again. And, yep. Pushing people, it's hard, apparently. Next up, the fans are still bored at the hints of Kevin Nash face turn. The outsiders are seen in their locker room. Hall and Nash are discussing who should be the one to challenge Sting for the title at Slamboree. They have a bit of back and forth, but then agree that it would be either man a worthy challenger, so they're going to settle it the only way they can with a game of rock, paper, scissors. But before they start playing, they spot the cameraman in the doorway, and he gets shoved out of the way and told that he'll find out later tonight, just like everyone else. And I'm not sure how far we can keep pushing the Kevin Nash not face turn, but we're going to keep going. 57 is a good solid angle rating there, and we move into a video about Vampiro. If you remember, we were told he would be here this week, and we get a video that shows him, and he will be here next week. He's injured, by the way, so we're just buying time. He's here next week. Honest, 59 rating is fine by me. Next up, DDP tells Mean Gene that whenever the outsiders make their minds up, he'll have Sting's back and will face the other outsider at Slamboree to make sure that the WCW title match stays one-on-one. Sid Vicious then arrives unannounced and attacks DDP from behind, sends him crashing through a window, and emergency staff rush in, and Sid's pulled away. Gets a 49 overall. See, the video about Vampiro was better. That's all I'll say. Next up, we then see Ric Flair and Perry Saturn matching the match of the night so far at 64, as Flair beats Saturn in 5.5 minutes, or just under 6 minutes, with the figure 4 leg lock. Ric Flair's in-ring performance is still the best on the show, essentially, but he's still penalised for being in extremely poor form. 64 is okay, though, against Saturn. He's a little bit lower down the pecking order, but still a good, solid match. And then we go into Flair being victorious for not very long as Shane Douglas sends down Malenko and Awesome to rush down to the ring, and Flair is beaten up 4-on-1. Kidman still hunting around backstage for a German in a mask. 42 could have been better. Just having Flair promos all night would probably be the solution to this. DDP is then having emergency staff put him onto a stretcher and carting him off backstage in an ambulance off to a hospital. Tonight's main event must change. And apparently, DDP selling an injury is much better than DDP doing a promo. 65 for this one. Good. That's okay. Let's go into the main event. Well, before we get there, Sting grabs a microphone as he gets to the ring and tells the fans he doesn't know whether it will be Nash or Hall challenging for the WCW title, but he knows that it will be showtime for the outsiders, and makes no mention whatsoever about the fact that one of his partners is injured and will be in the 3-on-2 match, because I forgot to edit this angle to do so. Still gets a 58 though. Just imagine Sting referenced maybe in passing that DDP's injured, and they'll be fine taking them on 3-on-2. Next up is the main event, and it gets a 66, so the main event match gets the biggest rating of the show. Excellent. Booker and the Outlaws win the 3-on-2 handicap match after Booker T pins Lex Luger with a scissors kick. Sting actually gets a higher rating than Ric Flair, so I lied. He's not got the best in-ring performance of the company. Never mind. Still, a 66 is a good main event, and it's not wasted by the fact we've gone slightly over the attention span of the audience. But there we go. And we close with a 50 rated main event angle as Booker and Luger are paired off, fighting down the entranceway, leaving Sting and the outsiders alone in the ring. Hall then gets possession of Sting's bat, and he waffles him The WCW champion with the bats leaves him down in the ring. Hall then ends the show with a WCW title and Nash looking on. This is suggesting that it's Scott Hall who will face Sting for the WCW title at Slamboree. That is that. That's Nitro. And it gets a 70 rating. Yeah, yes. A 70 rating. I am just going to put Ric Flair promos on every week to start the show. Flair is coming out and starting the show every single week with a promo. Because that is the only thing. Only 2 segments the entire night rated higher than a 70. And they both were Ric Flair promos. So, Ric Flair will be the WCW champion soon. You can bank on that. Well, that's a turn up for the books. We made some profit on the show, obviously, as you can see. Popularity-wise, we've actually increased our popularity by a point in 3 regions in the US. I'm onto something here. Just book Ric Flair promos, and you're golden. I think I'm going to have to make Ric Flair the champion. There's no other way about it. How can we do a show where Ric Flair puts promos in like that and drags up the show rating and not give him the championship? Christian's injured his nose, apparently broken his nose. Yeah, we're using the too much pay-per-views because we got it in Japan, but it costs too much to get rid of it. TV rating 3.9 million nearly. Is that the best event of the show? Yes. Easily. The best event of the save so far. Comfortably the best event of the show. That is ridiculous. Like, we've had a rating of Thunder down here at 38. But a 70 rating for Nitro is just stupid compared to everything else we've done. Right, thank you for watching Nitro. We've got a new Cruiserweight champion, by the way. It's definitely not Alex Wright, the German. Even though it says he's a 2-time champion. He's only had 2 matches, and he lost one of them, and he randomly had a Cruiserweight title match and won it. So that ends Billy Kidman's 91-day reign. The longest in this save is now gone. And that's on top of the 14 days he had before when he lost it and won it in one night. So technically, it was 105 days split over 2 reigns. But there we go. Alex Wright is now the new German Cruiserweight champion. Mike Awesome's the Hardcore champion after just being handed it by Shane Douglas. That's fine. US champ still Vampiro. We'll be here next week, honest. And then heavyweight champion is Sting. But it's going to soon be Ric Flair. That is what I will tell you right now. And then the World Tag Team Champions are still the Revolution. We need to find a set of opponents for them. And quickly, if we go to Ric Flair, even with his gloomy personality, look at his title history. He's got 9 plus, hang on, how many is that? 5. So what's that, 14? He's currently a 14-time World Champion. 15, 16. Is he already a 16-time World Champion? Oh, of course, because in WWE don't recognise a couple of these, do they? So that'll be why. So he's already a 16-time World Champion. He's going to be a 17-time World Champion soon because we're going to have him win the World title. You can bank on that one, Mr. Flair. Right, thank you. I hope you've enjoyed the show because it's been surprisingly good. So there we go. I guess I'll see you next week for more Nitro, and then it won't be long until Slamboree. In fact, I think next week is the go-home show. So I best actually figure out what we're doing. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure you subscribe to the channel. Check out the rest of the series. The playlist should hopefully be linked on screen in a second if it's not already. Thank you for those who have supported us over at Patreon as well. Your names have hopefully been on the screen now. And if you are not familiar with this series, please watch it all. Go and watch the Local to Global 1992 save as well. That playlist is also available. Thanks. My name's Anders, and I'll catch you on the next video. I'm shocked. This was good.